My man, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Oh no, honestly, it means a lot. 2 seconds.
Okay.
I don't know what's happening here. Here we go. Don't know why that come on. It has got a mind of its own, you know. So listen, straight up, right? You're about the only other photographer as talented that I know in the blues scene, apart from Adam Kennedy, who's
Oh well,
who
thank you. There's a whole lot of great blues photographers out there, but I appreciate just being in the conversation.
well, no, I mean, like your photographs are very I don't know how best to describe it. They're very specifically you, if that makes sense. You,
Thank you, thank
uh,
you. I
you know,
appreciate that. Um, I if I'm trying to do anything, I would like to make a person looking at the picture feel like they're there, or at least wish they were there. Create some kind of emotional response instead of just um, looking at a, a static, one-dimensional.
yeah, your photographs exactly. Actually, that's the best way to describe it. Actually, your photographs do actually they do capture some form of energy, if that makes any sense.
Well,
And
thank you.
that's the truth. And it's this is a show I really wanted to do with Gaulty, Fiona, my wife, but she's been very ill, so I've kind of been, because this idea had already been sitting too long and everything else, and we've got plans to be in Mississippi, obviously, for mutual friend Gary Burnside, and
Yes.
I'd rather have done it with her, but um, she'd have asked cooler questions as well, to be honest. But is there anybody that you think has been your favourite to take photos of? Because you've pretty much photographed anybody that's anybody in the blues.
You know, I've been asked that before, and I hate to answer it because I love the music, and if I start naming names, I'll as soon as you know this podcast is over with, I'll kick myself because I'll remembered one or two that I failed to name, and I can't call you back and say, oh, add these to the list or anything. So I'm going to keep myself out of trouble. I just love the music, and love being there to be in the mix to photograph whatever's happening at the moment. You'll notice I photograph sometimes not the musicians, but the people dancing and enjoying the music and all, because I love
Yeah,
doing that also.
I think it's all part and parcel of it, though. I mean, I think if those guys are doing a good job as musicians and actually, to be honest, entertainers, if we're going to be really serious, because it's not just about being able to play. Um, I think that watching people dance and enjoy themselves to a music that, don't forget, is sometimes preconceived as sad or whatever. I think that's a really important part of what you do.
Yes, well, thank you. Say I just try to capture the energy that is happening in front of me, created by the musicians, but it I think it all feeds back and forth. As you know, the a crowd that's into it and dancing and having a good time, they inspire the musicians to just keep pushing it further and better, and it just keeps building. Sometimes when all is when the magic happens.
Yeah, exactly. I do believe that to be the case. I can't remember a time where a musician would have enjoyed a gig. I mean, it doesn't matter if there's one person in the room or 1,000. I mean, if it's only one person, it will be the same enjoyable, but that one person has to enjoy it as much as the 1,000 would.
Yes.
And I don't think any musician, if they're going to be honest with themselves, would really say they've enjoyed a gig if that wasn't the case. So it's pretty cool. I mean, the first photograph I ever saw you take, noticed you took, and it stood out to me the most was again a mutual friend, Cameron Kimbra.
Okay.
And I remember now Cameron's been great with us, right?
Uh
We've
huh.
we've interviewed him twice. Once as just Cameron, and then I did one on my own with him and Damien.
Damien, uh-huh.
Yeah, but Damien's actually Yellow P. He's actually lovely. He sent my wife a lovely Christmas message and that, and she was all made up. It was lovely. They're just great people.
Oh, they're great. Mississippi Sounds, Cam and Damien, just great guys. And man, their music is just I love it. I can't say enough good things about it. I love all the music that I basically, if I've taken a photograph of it, I probably
You probably listening to it at some
probably
point.
liked it, but they're special for sure.
It's crazy because it's a funny fucking thing, right? But that so I've watched a lot of the music of the Burnsides, and like I'm a massive Gary Burnside fan.
Yeah.
Um, and when I actually think he might have been the very first interview we did, because it was a crazy time at night. Like I remember, like I was a bit gutted because I was leaving Fiona, to come back to the other house in Alaba, and and I was on the train talking to him, trying to set it up. Then we had to do it via Facebook chat, and it was quite tricky. But I mean, and the chat wasn't as good quality, like sounding, because it was the very first one, and you know. And then when we got talking, and he realised that I played like this old blues, this hill country stuff, like his dad's music,
Uh-huh.
and his Delta stuff, he said, "Oh, bro, you can play." I says, "Well, aye, but we never started the show to show off my playing or to show off Fiona's broadcasting skills. It was more to help these musicians, and give us some kind of like meaningful work. And so then that kind of inspired us to have all these different themes of shows, and I think that what you do for these artists is incredibly important for them, because you love doing it, but it would cost a lot of money for artists to hire a photographer for every situation. You know
Well,
what I mean?
yeah, I love the music so much that if there's any way I can give back, I'm not, in a financial position to be able to give back. Can't pay them what they're worth monetarily, but if I can, help in some small way by taking a photograph that they can use for a promotional, for a gig, or gotten the occasional album cover, CD cover, whatever. That's just my way of trying to give something back to something I love.
Well, I think it's a great thing that you do, and actually, I've got a couple of songs here that I wanted to put on based on who you've taken. Quite new. It's quite new doing it like this because it's funny. This is totally random information, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Um, so right, so Fiona is Fiona Gaulty, right? Check her page out actually, because she does different kind of radio shows. Well, although she's a massive blues fan, she's actually a broadcasting expert, like who kind of come up with the idea of the show and that, and to do it with me because I kind of
Uh-huh.
knew the people and had the background there. So, oh, excuse me. So, um, yeah, so we normally do it together and on a different kind of um interface and everything else. So this is all like very new, and it's got. I'll tell you what, it's got sound effects and everything. Check this out. Um, see, do
Uh-huh. Yeah.
you know what I mean? So this is all very new, and I'm still getting used to it myself.
Well,
So
I'm sure learning as I go for sure too. So
so apologies if the sound's not been perfect at your end, but it seems all right here. Um, right, so I, a few photos that I'm going to go on about the quality of the photographs in particular because I don't know if it's your editing skills or whatever, but I've noticed that they're almost like paintings. In fact, I'll tell you, one of my favourite photos is from a friend of ours called Ilana Katz. Um, and I remember looking at it thinking, is that a fucking photograph or is it a painting? Do you know what I mean?
well, funny you say that. I think Miles Davis said this, and he says it better than I can. But he said a painting is music you can see, and music is a painting you can hear. And I guess basically I'll take some creative license and apply it to a photograph being the same way.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so,
yeah. I suppose that's a good way to look at it, actually. And the funny thing is, right now, I didn't want you to disclose all your tricks, but I suppose that's kind of your stamp, isn't it? I mean, like I see a lot of photographs, and I know they're yours. I see a lot of photographs of the same people, and I know they're not. So it's working. Do you know what I mean?
well, thank you. Yes, that's
It
that's
makes
great
sense.
to hear.
You know, if I look at a photograph, I can go, "Fuck, I was Deke Rivers that took that," and I know I know fine well it was you. Do you know? Do you know what I mean? So
Well,
no,
that's high praise, and I appreciate it.
it's just the truth, man. I mean, I'm not a nice enough person. I mean, Fiona would tell you that I'm not a nice enough person to lie to you for your benefit. You know,
Uh-huh.
I think that the best artwork um, is like we say, honest, and it could be photography, it could be painting, it could be writing, it could be I remember actually
Yeah. Well,
it
that
was
honesty is key in anything you do. I mean, if the
yeah
music isn't real, it doesn't play the same. And I think if you're not keeping it real, photographically, painting or whatever whatever medium you're working in, it shows and shows you're a phony or fake. And
yeah, and I tell you what, Gaulty actually so she's a writer, she's an incredible writer, and
Mhm.
I remember sometimes she gives me her stuff to proofread. Not that I'm a good writer, but I'm not a bad I'm not bad at English. So anyway, she did this piece for for something she's doing at uni. I can't remember what exact module it was, but I remember reading it, and I'm not sure I'm allowed to say about what it was about because of her university, right? So I'm being sketchy about it for that reason alone. But I remember reading it and wanting to cry at the end of it. I thought,
Uh-huh.
that's just a story that that you're not sure is any good, but yet it's brought me almost to tears.
Yeah.
And I think photographs and music, all of that is under one umbrella. You know.
Yes. Uh-huh. I totally agree. I totally agree.
I've got some other music here, right? Now I don't know how you feel about me putting it on, but I picked out because I love the photograph, right?
Uh-huh.
this
Uh-huh.
is this is how I work, right? I picked out a Christone Ingram song,
Okay, great. Great.
right? So I know he's just done massive things like all over the place.
Yes.
You
Played the
know,
Apollo recently. I mean, that's,
I know.
that's
I saw him playing at the was it the Grizzlies?
oh yes, yeah, for a playoff game for the Memphis Grizzlies, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I saw that, and I tell you, I actually stumbled on him for a completely different reason. Everybody was talking about him for a long time beforehand, right? Like as a player,
Uh-huh.
and I hadn't really not that I wasn't interested, right? It isn't my style of blues usually, if I'm going to be honest, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, what I did was I stumbled upon him, Marquise Knox, and John Tavis Willis when they started the Robert Johnson challenge.
Oh, uh-huh. Yeah.
And I thought, wow, this guy is actually fucking amazing
Yeah.
with with an acoustic as well. And I had never heard him in that light before, right? I had never heard
Uh-huh.
him before. So I started to get into his playing then, and I've seen him do a couple of collabs with people, and I think the guy's just incredibly talented. Like, yeah. So I was going to put on 662 if that's all right with you.
That sounds great to me. I love
Cool.
that song.
I come from a river town, talking about nothing to do. Mosquitoes come out when the sun goes down. Gives off a sticky too. The Mississippi Delta, the get up early. Lots of people getting high. They got a church on every corner. If you're searching for the by and by, there's a sound oozing from the ground, and it cuts right through. You can only find it down here in the 662. The Cooper tire. My mama was raised in the hills. My brother moved out to Baltimore, and I'm left there paying the bills. The Mississippi Delta, the birthplace of the blues. I was born smack dab in the 662. Yeah, I'm still kicking these blues down in the 662.
Wow, that made me get up and dance.
I don't know what's going on with this thing. It keeps doing it all it fucking wants. It'll play one thing and then it'll just decide, all right, I'm going to put the next song on as well, and I can't understand why. But anyway, it was better than the last time. Honestly, I had some problem with with the laptop, and apparently everybody could hear me going fuck. You know, and I was having a meltdown, So, yeah. So, Crystal Ingram is amazing. I tell you, who else I love, right? Is Dwayne Burnside. Now,
Oh yeah.
yeah, he's amazing. Now, this is crazy. I've watched all these guys playing, right? And
Uh-huh.
90% of the time when I watch a live video that's floating about on YouTube, you're there taking photos.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Like you're always there. That's crazy. You
I
must be.
try to be. I try to be. I love those guys. I mean, it's not just their music. I love them. As people and everything, friends, brothers.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. The other thing that kind of attracted me, so to speak, to wanting to speak to you, was the fact that your profile reads Gypsy, and probably for reasons you won't know, but that that's exactly what I am, and I thought, oh, that's pretty cool, So that's it's stupid as well, but it's the truth, like.
Well,
Um,
my ancestry goes. I actually come from my on my father's side of the family. They settled here from Bohemia, which is now Czech Republic, and my understanding is basically there's gypsies and all. So that's it. It's kind of fitting, and it's what is, and it also describes my endless case of wanderlust. Just to always go somewhere different, somewhere new, and always be on the move.
yeah, and so there's in Britain it's something that me and Fiona talk about a lot in most of our shows, even on her own. Actually, she did a whole show about it. You know, because she's got a great chat show on a Wednesday, and normally what would happen is like she would like pick a topic and then she would like go and study it, and you know it's a brilliant show. It's a completely different show, but
Uh-huh.
it's great in its own right. And we're always talking about these social issues that still exist, and it's fucking ridiculous. I mean, for example, in Britain, you know, gypsies are still very, very much shunned, and it's like almost acceptable racism in this country, you know.
Uh-huh.
Um, so, but I admire the culture, because you know my father's Australian, and I'm 50% of that culture myself.
Okay,
And,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I mean like proper, you know, travelers, and I also found that they're always talented. They're always good at stuff because they don't. Granted, right? So a lot of them didn't read and write properly. Um, but you know, like it's only because they never really had to. I mean, they still done great artwork. They still played great music. You know, they're still very good mechanically. You know,
Yes,
so
yes.
you know, and I think a lot of that comes from the fact that they're not indoctrinated, and I think that's quite a kind of paradise type way to live your life.
Yes. Uh-huh.
You know, not being tied down to anything. So I need to ask as well, right? Anyway, now that that's out of the way, what about what's it? So I'm assuming you stay in where Clarksdale or somewhere similar, like you know, in that kind of neck of the
I
woods.
actually live in southern Missouri, which is I'm about I'll call it a long 3 hours to Clarksdale, a couple hours north of Memphis, and so it's kind of the middle of nowhere. So I don't have music doesn't tend to come to me very often, and like other people that live in a larger metropolitan area. But the advantage is, I guess, the fact that I am able to, in a couple hours' time, drive to St. Louis, a couple hours' time, drive to Memphis, a couple, 3 hours drive to Little Rock, Arkansas,
Brilliant.
Clarksdale, Mississippi, wherever. I'm, I guess, centrally located geographically. So I have to go to the music, but I don't have that far to go compared to, you know, you're coming all the way overseas, and like Juke Joint Festival. Literally, they come from the world. People come from the world over, and it's their one chance to be there. And even within the states, I think almost every state is generally represented at Juke Joint Fest. But someone from say New Mexico or wherever they're coming in, they get to spend a week there and they have to go back home. I'm allowed the luxury of, on a whim, deciding I'll drive down there on a Thursday night because somebody's playing at Reds or Ground Zero or wherever that I want to see and hear.
Now you mentioned Ground Zero. Um, so when we started the show, myself and Gaulty, Fiona,
Uh
um, I call her Gaulty when I'm doing this on my own because she's got an amazing show of her own, you know,
huh.
and you know, quite a lot of the time everybody is so because we're like this power couple in Scotland, you know, like this kind of celebrity blues couple almost, and everybody like associates like everything I do with her and vice
Uh
versa,
huh.
and it's not the case, you know. I mean, she's been a broadcaster long before I showed up, so you know, so that's what that's all about. But anyway, when we started this whole idea, what we used to do our weekends is we used to set up, still with like a bottle of rum or whatever, and we would watch documentaries or whatnot. And like it's actually fucking crazy when I think about it because I remember the very first time I saw Bobby Rush in one of these documentaries, and I remember the first time I saw Little Freddie King in one of these documentaries, and now we've both spoken to them, you know, via Zoom
Wow.
chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like they're both really, really grateful that you know we're a young couple in Scotland and we're listening to this music, you know,
Uh
that is
huh.
that has existed forever. Like, but but when you mentioned Ground Zero, I strictly remember seeing you seeing a photo of Morgan Freeman. Is that right?
Yes, yes. He's one of the co-owners of Ground Zero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's he like? Have you ever met him or?
I have not met him personally. I'm sure a lot of people there in Clarksdale have and everything. I've never met him personally. I photographed him from across the room. There's a swarm when Morgan is there. There's a swarm of people wanting to get close to him, of course, because of his celebrity status and all. So I if I don't want to just be one more crowding in and everything. Much as I'd be honored to be able to shake his hand or something. Um, I'm better off to try to photograph it. I think I got a shot of he and Lucius Spiller
That's
on
right. Yeah,
stage
yeah. That's the
together.
one I saw. Yeah, that's the exact photo I saw. And the crazy thing is, as well, is for us. I mean, obviously, I'm speaking on both of our behalves, but I know exactly. Like, so you've got like Little Freddie King. You've got like people like Dwayne Burnside and
Mm-hmm.
Gary Burnside and all these other guys who like we both like admire incredibly. And for me as a musician in particular, I regard a lot of them as heroes or inspirations. And I spent
Mm-hmm.
a lot of my life studying the music of their fathers and grandfathers, and
Mm-hmm.
to be able to actually associate myself with them now personally is a mental feeling.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty cool. I mean, I think it's pretty cool. I think this pandemic actually has has created a lot of positivity in our lives as much as it's created a lot of problems. I don't
True.
know about you guys, but I mean, what is it even like over there now with the COVID situation? Is it still terrible? Or
It's still we at this most recent Juke Joint Fest. I think most everybody was a little more relaxed. We had, of course, I am I think I've got this right. 2 years ago, it was shut down all the. I will say shut down. They did it virtually or whatever, but which was the best you could make out of the situation, in the height of the pandemic. And then a year ago at Juke Joint Fest, it was um, a smaller, a smaller, fewer artists, and as I recall, the overseas people could not get to the United States to visit, and in general, there is a much smaller festival. And this year, it basically cranked back up to normal. And I will say there seemed to be almost an extra bit of spontaneous joy of everybody being able to get out and do things again. Now, the downside of it is that I heard of several people afterwards did test positive for COVID. So it may have been a bit of a spreader event and everything in reality, unfortunately. But to my knowledge, the people that I know that did test positive all came out okay, other than just testing positive, but I'm not aware of any of my personal acquaintances being, um, you know, deathly ill or anything like that. Didn't lose anybody that I know of.
it's a strange one because um, I've got a very strong immune system, and it probably doesn't worries me. Well, it does now actually because Fiona, she's got an autoimmune deficiency. So if she catches
Uh,
something, it'll kill her. And
wow.
that made everything 100 times more serious for me. If I
Sure.
think this could be the first time I've openly admitted that because, like, I'm sick of hearing about it, or stop going on about COVID, and and I've always been like that over it. But um, like in hindsight, since she's not been well and not been able to do this with me, and how much I've kind of missed her, or missed her input and everything else,
Yeah.
um, I think I realise now just how very different it can be for somebody in that position, and she like me loves doing all those festivals and like and gigs and stuff as well. So it's quite restrictory. It's I can imagine it being like having two problems,
Yeah.
because you're not able to go and enjoy yourself as you would normally love to, but you're also not able to even risk being sick,
Yeah. I have to hold back because of, the fear factor.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's I couldn't have worded that better. That's aye, absolutely. That's what it is. It's fear factor, and it's
Yeah.
a shame because there's plenty of people in the world that don't take it seriously, and they don't.
Right.
They think, although musicians, the ones that are really good, right, the ones that are really worth buying the music from and worth for you taking photos of, are the guys that have that have come through regardless. Like we were talking to Jeremiah Johnson, and he's got this amazing album that's it was up for a BMA,
Mm-hmm.
and he actually wrote that in 10 days because he said he needed to get money together and he was starting to struggle and the pandemic had flattened all his gigs,
Yeah.
so he quickly wrote this album where it cost the least he'd ever spent on an album. He done it quicker than he'd ever done an album, and yet it was the most successful album he's written so far.
Wow. Yeah.
So I think sometimes, being up against it, so to speak, kind of brings out the best in you as an artist.
Well, that's true. Yeah. That's, what is they say about, well, I don't know. I'm not going to get this right about hard times and even know who your friends are and all that. It's not who's there necessarily when you're
Yeah,
all laughing and dancing and partying, but who's there in the tough hours, and all.
yeah, and I think the past few weeks actually not seen Fiona. I think that's made me realise as well. Just how good we've got it. When we're together. And I
Mhm.
think it makes you kind of appreciate stuff a bit more. Um,
Yes, absolutely.
so I was going to put on another song. I don't know if you're all right with that or not. Seeing as it's you,
Sure, absolutely. Go
you're
ahead.
the guest, my man. But
No, no, I love it. I love it. I love what you've been playing.
all right, cool. Well, you'll love this one, and you should anyway. I'm going to put on Dwayne Burnside's version of "Skinny Woman." All right.
All right, I love that.
I don't want skinny woman. I don't want skinny woman. Please don't shake. Please don't shake. Oh, no, she won't cook no brother. No, she won't wash no clothes. All she do walk down the street and I walk down. No, she won't cook no brother. Put my brother, let's get up. Wash no gold. all she do. Walk down the street at night, walk down the street at night, walk down the street at night, walk down. One more time for me.
Brilliant. I love
Uh,
that. Like,
I
honestly,
love that. I
honestly.
especially love that. I've got a special. I love the blues, but I especially love the hill country. And while I'm saying hill country, I will throw in another thing because Robert Kimbrough will be the first to tell you that his dad, Junior, played Cotton Patch Soul Blues. But geographically, that Holly Springs, Mississippi, North Mississippi area, just a big fan of music coming out of that region. You know, obviously Junior, Kimbrough's Cotton Patch Soul Blues, and all the Burnsides music. And I'll throw another name in there that Trenton Ayers and his dad, Little Joe Ayers, and Little Joe played with Junior back in the day. And
Did he
anyway,
actually? I didn't know
Trenton's,
that. I did not know that.
yeah, and Trenton's working on a new project, and it's good stuff also. So I just throw that out there.
Now,
Anybody's,
am I right in saying, right? Now I could be totally wrong here, but I do know this music quite well myself, right?
uh-huh.
But Trent Ayers is considered to have hands of fire and played with Cedric Burnside, am I right?
Yes, he did. He played with Cedric.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So yeah, okay. So we're on the same page then.
Yeah, that's
I
Trenton. And like I say, and his dad was little. They call him Little Joe Ayers, and he played with Junior.
and I
But he
believe
plays by himself. And they're anyway. Both Joe and Trenton are great musicians.
right. Well, I believe as well that our friend Memphis Gold. I don't know if you know who that is, but he's a good friend of Little Joe Ayers.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And he's also friendly with Dwayne Burnside, which is mad because I didn't realise just how small this fucking blues world was until
Yeah.
until I started. I've just started to speak to these people, and I mean, honestly, I mean, we both of us, like myself and Gaulty, have both been very, very, very fortunate, right? In terms of like um, we've asked people like completely who we would have believed to be out with our reach type thing,
Uh-huh.
and they've all got back to us, and they've all been very very helpful. In fact, to be honest, um, so we're really quite lucky, like, yeah. So I think though, it's kind of like you with the photographs. I think it's just because we care about it. I feel like my arm's been cut off because I'm doing this myself now. But I mean, at the
Yeah.
end of the day, we care about it to the point where we want the shows to be full of decent content. We want to show people some new music and get people tuned into a music that they probably thought was negative or whatever before.
Yeah. It's about passion for it instead of just passively having it out there. It's for me. It's a passion of mine, and I, if I hope that my photographs can capture the passion I feel, and I would want someone to have a passionate reaction to my photograph. I might prefer that someone love it or hate it than to just look at it and say, yeah, okay,
I
Um,
think, yeah, I think what you said there is very important actually because if you think about that, if somebody loves something or hates something, it's a very similar investment of emotion. So I mean, you've still spurred somebody to feel something, and I think that's pretty.
yes.
Yeah, I think that's pretty important. Now you said Robert Kimber. Now he's also a kind of friend of ours as well. We've
Oh, is he
spoken.
good? Yeah, I didn't know if you knew him or not.
Yeah, Robert Kimber Senior. Yeah,
Hmm.
um, he's he's a cool guy actually. I'd love to get him to Scotland. I'd actually love to get all these guys a chance to come to Scotland, but see, the problem is people don't want to pay musicians enough,
Oh,
and that's
I know that. Yes.
it's fucking terrible, eh?
Yeah.
I know that myself. I mean, I gig as many nights as I can get away with, and
Yeah.
and I mean, sometimes it's not the venue, sometimes it's just people don't, either have the money now,
Yeah.
or want to part with it for something they see as not a necessity, or
Well, oh, yeah, absolutely. There was a wiser man than me once said that it doesn't matter what the question is, the answer is money. And I
yeah,
think that's,
yeah, yeah,
and it's like I say, the musicians do not get, they don't get their worth monetarily. Goodness, they've been, the, the rate for paying musicians is probably stuck at where it was, I don't know, 30 years ago or something. It's ridiculous. Inflation has gone up on everything, gas, you name it, gas, food, everything. But
I,
musicians' pay scale has just stayed static.
yep. And we're that desperate to work now that we have to come and go with the venues, or they'll book somebody else.
Yeah.
And I don't know about America, but in Britain, especially, there's a lot of young guys with very little club experience. In fact, I'm sure me and Ian Seagull were bitching about this not long ago. But they've got very little club experience, and they're willing to go out and work for less money than people who have done it all their life and will put on a show. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's terrible, like, yeah. And the other thing is as well, I don't know about, like I said, I don't know about America, but in Britain, the blues is a funny thing here because um everybody thinks they know what it is, but they don't really. I found, because the blues comes under this big bracket in Britain, right? But I know fine well, fine well, that
Uh huh.
in America you can go from Holly Springs to say, I don't know, Greenville, or to St. Louis, or to Texas, or to somewhere else, and it's still blues, but it's completely different.
Uh huh.
It's,
Yeah.
it's, a,
Yeah.
it's almost a different genre.
Yes. Uh huh.
But if you say the word blues in Britain, everybody gets this like idea that it's going to be sad, and it's not really the case, is it?
Right. Absolutely. You're right.
Right. So I've got another song to put on, right, before
Oh,
we have
great.
before we have another wee bit of chat. I just uploaded it now, actually. It's because you mentioned them. It's a Robert Kimber song. So,
Okay.
all right, is that cool with
Very
you?
good. Sounds cool to me.
Awesome.
My frog jumping around on me. Let me did right here. My frog, oh yeah, jumping around on me. Gotta find me a pond somewhere, one that not so deep, won't let me smell. I do something that part of me. Call my frog, oh yeah, jumping around on me. My frog, Lord, yeah, jumping around on me. My frog is jumping around me. Shit, man. Going down south real soon. I wonder, can I find a couple of hens down there? I just wanna lay me some eggs I do. Lay my head somewhere. Come back from lonely, jumping around on me. Gotta find me a pond somewhere, one and not so deep. Won't let me to me. I do something that part of me. My phone is jumping around me. Oh, well, let's go through the woods. Give me my good time. Let me walk outside. Yeah, over there. Huh. I got a couple of old hens out there that won't lay an egg at all. I'm gonna open up that fence out there and tell those hens they gotta go. Come back from lonely, jumping around on me. Gotta find me a pond somewhere, one that not so deep. One let me see me. I do something that part of me. On my road, jumping around me. Oh, well, ribbit, ribbit. 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 My frog jumping around on me.
Just a family thing, they're just all brilliant.
I love that.
Yeah, I think I honestly, sometimes talent is just rife in a family, and I think everybody we've played's been a good example, So so this is the last song. I started with this. I'm going to put it on again, right?
All right.
Before I turn it up, do you want to tell the story about Al Green?
A story about what?
About Al Green.
Oh, anybody that's in Memphis should go to Reverend Al Green's church while they have a chance to. It's an experience you won't forget.
Awesome. Listen, it's been lovely to talk to you, my man. And,
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
No, it's been great. We'll speak to you again soon, my man.
Thank you so much.